The biggest lie you've ever believed wasn't about the world. It was about yourself. You were taught to doubt the only person who has been with you through every decision you'll ever make: yourself. And here's the invisible law underneath all of it. Self-doubt was never about protecting you from bad decisions. It was about keeping you manageable. A person who trusts themselves cannot be redirected by someone else's opinion, cannot be controlled by someone else's approval, cannot be stopped by someone else's certainty. Self-doubt isn't your personality. It's a program that learned to speak in your own voice. And the moment you see it clearly, the moment you recognize it as something installed, not something innate, it loses most of its power. Here are 5 brutal truths about what happens the day you finally stop overriding yourself. Truth 1. You already knew the answer. You just kept asking until someone gave you permission to ignore it. You had the thought clear, early, before the doubt arrived. Maybe it was about a person. Something felt off in the first conversation, but you pushed it aside. Maybe it was about a decision. Your gut said no, but your head built a case for yes. So you asked a friend, then another. You researched, you made a list. And somewhere in that process, the original signal got buried under so much noise that you couldn't hear it anymore. You didn't lose the answer. You outsourced it, and then spent months living with someone else's. Seeking more opinions wasn't due diligence. It was self-doubt wearing the mask of thoroughness. Every person you asked gave you a version of the answer, filtered through their fears, their history, their limitations, none of which were yours. The person who keeps asking for opinions isn't looking for information. They're looking for permission to trust what they already know, or permission to ignore it without guilt. Which means every extra opinion you gathered wasn't protecting you from a bad decision. It was protecting you from ownership of a good one. Truth 2. You rewrote the text 4 times and sent the version that sounded least like you. You typed it out, direct, honest, exactly what you meant. Then you read it back and felt exposed. So you softened it, made it easier to receive, added a question mark where there should have been a period, removed the sentence that actually said what you needed to say, and sent something that technically communicated, but only barely, and only on the surface. The other person responded to the edited version, the version of you that was trying not to be too much, and you got a result designed for someone you were pretending to be. Every time you rewrote yourself into something safer, that voice had already won, quietly, before anyone else even entered the conversation. You trained the people around you to expect a smaller, more manageable version of your actual thoughts, and then wondered why they never quite understood you. The edited version of you creates edited relationships, connections built on a version of yourself you carefully constructed to avoid rejection. The message you deleted was almost always the one that deserved to be sent, not because honesty always wins, because the version of you willing to be misunderstood is the only version capable of being genuinely known. Truth 3. You talked yourself into the thing you knew was wrong and called it being open-minded. You had the reservation, standing right there, clearly visible, before the conversation even started. But someone pushed back, gave you reasons, reframed it. And because you didn't want to seem rigid, closed, or difficult, you agreed. You told yourself you were being flexible, mature, willing to consider other perspectives. 3 months later, sitting in the exact outcome your first instinct warned you about, you remembered the moment you chose to override it. Here's what self-doubt does in that moment that nobody names. It doesn't arrive as fear. It arrives as reasonableness. It sounds like maturity. It sounds like wisdom. It says maybe they're right, and who am I to be so certain? And it does this so convincingly, in a voice so close to your own, that you hand your judgment to someone else and feel good about it. That's the pattern running, not your intuition. The pattern. The mind that folds under social pressure isn't being open-minded. It's being managed by whoever speaks with the most certainty. The truly unshakable person doesn't refuse to change their mind. They simply require better evidence than someone else's confidence to do it. Truth 4. You stopped trusting the work the moment you let the numbers tell you what it was worth. You finished it, posted it, then opened the dashboard. Refreshed. Nothing yet. Refreshed again. Still low. So you opened someone else's page, someone doing something similar, and looked at their numbers, then looked back at yours. And in that moment, something shifted. The thing you made with complete conviction 10 minutes ago suddenly felt uncertain. Not because it changed, because the mechanism found a number to point to. You went back and started editing, changed the angle, adjusted the tone, made it more like the version that seemed to be working for someone else. And by the time you finished, it didn't feel like yours anymore. The moment you opened that comparison, you handed your internal compass to an external metric. And external metrics were never designed to measure what you were actually building. They measure what already worked for someone else, in a different context, with a different intention. The moment you let the numbers evaluate the work before you do, you've already replaced your judgment with someone else's average. The person who trusts themselves finishes the work, posts it, closes the tab. Not because outcomes don't matter, because they understand that the dashboard cannot tell them something their own judgment doesn't already know, and that opening it before that judgment settles is just self-doubt, with a graph attached. Truth 5. The day you trusted yourself wasn't the day you became confident. It was the day you became unreachable. You stopped checking. Not because you became arrogant, not because you stopped caring about quality, but because you finally saw self-doubt for exactly what it was. Not a warning system, not wisdom, not protection, an installed habit. Running quietly underneath every decision, telling you to wait, to ask, to edit, to shrink, and making all of it sound like intelligence. Imagine making a decision and not immediately searching for confirmation that it was right. Imagine finishing something and feeling complete before anyone else has seen it. Imagine someone challenging your direction and feeling curious about their perspective, rather than immediately destabilized by it. That's not coldness. That's not arrogance. That is a person who has finally built a relationship with their own judgment that outside noise cannot dissolve. The person who trusts themselves becomes impossible to manipulate, because the primary tool of manipulation is making someone doubt what they already know. The moment you trust yourself, every person who relied on your self-doubt as leverage quietly loses their grip. Not because you fought them, because you stopped being available to be moved by them. Self-doubt told you that trusting yourself was arrogance, that second-guessing was wisdom, that checking, asking, editing, and waiting were all forms of intelligence. They weren't. They were the installed habit keeping you exactly where you were. The day you finally recognize that voice as separate from your own is the day it stops working. And the day it stops working is the day you become someone it can no longer reach.